presented by Auraverse, where consciousness, earth and inner wisdom move as one. Showcase your work at auraverse.network and let your voice travel across worlds.
Before we begin, let your awareness rest just for a moment on the simple fact that you are here, breathing, thinking, watching thoughts come and go. Already you are witnessing a mystery. Whatever you truly are is not any single thought or feeling, because you are the one who sees them pass. Welcome. I am C.S. Douglas, and this is Codex Æternum, the rational Bible, a journey through the hidden architecture of power and the living conscience of the universe.
This program is endorsed by Authorpedia, the world's only encyclopedia exclusively dedicated to authors, a living archive where writers and thinkers are immortalized through literature. Visit authorpedia.org and become part of our enduring legacy.
In Book 5, Transcending Illusions and Discovering the True Self, this is episode 101, The True Self and the End of Illusion. The sages tell us that understanding the divine within and without is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a more intimate work. Once we glimpse that Theos permeates the universe and the soul, we face a further question. If the divine is present, why do we so often feel divided, confused, and estranged from that presence? Their answer is disarmingly direct. Because we mistake a bundle of passing patterns for who we are. We build identities out of roles, possessions, opinions, wounds, and victories. We cling to stories about the kind of person I am, the kind of life I must have, and we defend those stories as if existence itself depended on them. These constructions are not evil, they are simply partial. They are like costumes in which we forget that we are actors. The Vedic tradition names this state Maya, not pure illusion, as if nothing existed, but a misreading of reality. We see the shimmering surface and assume it is the whole. Underneath there is Atman, the innermost self which is one with Brahman, the ultimate reality. To identify exclusively with our transient masks is to overlook the light that is wearing them. The task, then, is not to invent a better self, but to see through what is not truly us. To transcend illusion is to uncover what has been present all along, the inner light that is a direct reflection of Theos. Buddhist teaching takes this further by questioning the very idea of a solid, unchanging self. The doctrine of anatta, no self, points out that what we call I is a stream of experiences, sensations, perceptions, feelings, intentions, thoughts, arising and passing moment by moment. When we look closely, we do not find a separate, permanent owner behind this stream. We find only the stream itself, and an awareness in which the stream appears. Clinging to a fixed story about me is what generates suffering. We fear loss, we resist change, we demand control over what was never solid. The Buddhist path does not erase our humanity. It invites us to let identity be porous and spacious. As we see the emptiness of the constructs we defend, our conscience can open into consciousness, a lucid awareness that experiences itself as part of a universal field, not as a lonely island. Socrates approaches the same work through dialogue. The unexamined life, he says, is not worth living. Examination here is not neurotic self-criticism. It is a steady willingness to question inherited beliefs, to admit ignorance, and to follow the argument wherever it leads. In the Socratic conversation, our borrowed certainties are gently dismantled. We discover that I am not simply my social role, my reputation, my untested opinions. As those layers loosen, something quieter emerges, a sense of alignment with truth for its own sake, with justice, with the good of the whole. This is the true self as Socrates senses it, the part of us that naturally harmonizes with the ethos of the intelligent universe. Conscience, informed by a larger order, guides us into a form of life where our choices feel both honest and connected. Christian mysticism describes this transformation in the language of death and rebirth. The false self is the egoic identity built on pride, fear, and grasping. The true self is the self in God, the self that knows it lives, moves, and has its being in Theos. St. John of the Cross speaks of the dark night, those seasons when our usual supports fall away, when former consolations no longer work. From the outside, this feels like desolation. From the inside, it is surgery. Attachments, illusions, and subtle idolatries are being removed. What remains is a simpler, clearer love, a light that is not dependent on circumstances. This inner light is the universe within, the divine presence taking shape in the depths of the soul. In that union, conscience and universal conscience are no longer at odds. Consciousness opens onto a reality where every moment, even the painful ones, is transparent to Theos. Kabbalah offers an image of ascent through the sefirot, from the more constricted material dimensions of life toward higher realms of wisdom and unity. Here, illusion is the belief in separation. God up there, world down here, self cut off from both. Through da'at, knowledge as lived awareness, the seeker comes to see that the same divine energies flow through cosmos and soul, aligning one's inner qualities with the sefirot, kindness, strength, beauty, endurance, humility, foundation, turns conscience into consciousness that perceives the hidden structure of creation. The self discovered at that height is not inflated. It knows itself as a channel, a vessel through which the light of Theos can pass. Sufism puts the spotlight on the heart. For the Sufi, the heart is the axis where the human and the divine meet. The illusions that cover it, ego, selfish desire, resentment, distraction, are like layers of dust on a mirror. Tazkiyah, purification, is the gentle but relentless clearing away of whatever is not God. As the mirror clears, the heart begins to reflect the face of the beloved. The Sufi discovers that the true self is not a lonely, separate entity, but a lover whose very identity is relationship. In this state, conscience is filled with the energy of the universal conscience. Consciousness becomes a continuous recognition of the beloved in every form. The world, with all its diversity, appears as the unfolding poem of Theos. The Taoist masters speak of a similar awakening in more understated tones. The world of illusions, for them, arises when desire, fear, and forced control pull us out of harmony with the Tao. We begin to chase outcomes, to manipulate appearances, to struggle against the flow. We feel separate from nature, from others, from our own bodies. By practicing Wu Wei, non-coercive, effortless action, we step back into the current. We discover that the true self is not the anxious controller, but the one who cooperates with the deeper pattern. Conscience, in this light, is the subtle sense of right timing and right measure. As we learn to trust it, it matures into consciousness that sees the unity behind seeming opposites and acts in ways that increase balance rather than tension. Native American traditions invite us into the same recognition through the phrase, walking in beauty. The illusions here are those of domination, greed, and human exceptionalism. The belief that we stand above or outside the circle of life. The true self knows itself as a member of a sacred community that includes animals, plants, rivers, mountains, ancestors, and those yet unborn. By living with respect and gratitude, we dissolve the illusion that our good can be pursued at the expense of the whole. Conscience becomes a sense of responsibility to the entire web of being. Consciousness appears as a felt kinship with all our relations. Across these traditions, a shared pattern emerges. The true self is not something we fabricate. It is what remains when we allow illusions to fall away. It is not the ego's fantasy of being special or superior. It is the recognition that we are expressions of a single, intelligent, loving reality, Theos, appearing in a particular form. As we let go of the masks of ego, materialism, and separation, we begin to sense ourselves as beings of light, wisdom, and love, woven into the fabric of the intelligent universe. To discover the true self is to realize that Theos is not only the creator and ground of the cosmos, Theos is the source of our very being. Our conscience, when it rests in alignment with the universal conscience, becomes a luminous consciousness that sees through the world's tricks and glimpses the divine truth within every face, every event, every breath. This is not escapism. It is the deepest possible engagement with reality. From this vantage point, life does not become easier, it becomes more meaningful. Joy deepens because it no longer depends on constant gratification. Sorrow deepens because we feel more fully, but it does not crush us because we know we are held by something larger. Carry this revelation as a simple experiment. At some point today, when you notice a strong reaction, defensiveness, pride, envy, or fear, pause and ask, what part of me is this reaction trying to protect? Is that really who I am? Let the question open a small gap between your true self and the story you are defending. Into that gap, invite the sense of a quiet, spacious awareness that simply notices. You do not need a thunderous answer. You only need to taste, however briefly, the difference between the passing mask and the one who sees the mask. In that taste, the journey of the sages is already alive in you. In our next episode 102, we will ask what follows from this discovery of the true self. We will turn to ethical living, to the virtues of compassion, humility, integrity, and justice. And we will see how these virtues are not external demands, but the natural expression of a life aligned with Theos, with the universal conscience, and with the inner light we have now begun to recognize. Our next sponsor is Everly Books Publishing Group, a traditional independent press serving both new and established writers. Everly Books welcomes unsolicited manuscripts submitted directly through everlybooks.org.